A useless thing like you has no value in our family." The Duke of Babelois shrieked frantically. He constantly vented his anger on his eldest daughter, Meldik. Meldik was in complete agreement with the Duke's words. She was not appreciated in this family. The girl came into this world completely unexpectedly. After falling asleep one day, she woke up in a new body. Meldik had already spent a lot of money on her father's business that had failed several times. The girl originally had no talent for entrepreneurship. She didn't want to get involved in her father's business. Also, the girl was constantly hindered by her stepmother, Duchess Hildegard. For some reason unknown to the girl, the Duke of Wavelois hated his daughter. He always sided with his spouse, blaming Meldik for all of Meldik's failures. "Now take the money and get out of here before my eyes see you," shouted the Duke and tossed a small stack of money to his daughter. "To be honest, I don't really want to see you myself. I'll gladly do your bidding. Since you told me to get lost, I will," said the girl, stashing the money in her pocket. "Well, I finally have a chance to get away from this crazy family," Meldik thought, and hummed happily and walked towards the door. "Don't even think about crawling to me on your knees and begging to come back. Know that I will not accept you," shouted the Duke after his daughter. "All right, I will. Have a happy stay," shouted the girl joyfully. She was glad that today she would finally say goodbye to this family for good. "Hopefully, these things will be enough for me for the first time." Meldik decided to take only 2 suitcases with her. "Mistress, where are you going to go in this harsh winter?" In a worried voice, Rosalind asked. She was the only maid who treated the Duke's daughter well. "It is March outside the window, which means it is already spring. I am leaving this house to meet my dream," Meldik replied. "Madam, are you really going to go to the Duchy of Hesman to propose to him?" Rosalind fell to her knees in front of the Duke's daughter. The dream of the original Meldik was to marry Duke Hesman. What kind of proposal? "What are you talking about now? Duke Hesman doesn't interest me anymore," replied Meldik, laughing merrily. She knew that the Duke was an indifferent and cold-blooded man. She, on the other hand, liked gentler and kinder men. A few years ago, the girl had fallen into a fantasy novel without any sense of meaning. The book was called Lovers Trapped in Magic. At one time, the girl liked the book very much. The main character of the novel was a cold but perfect man, Duke Hesman. The main heroine was Sharia. She was beautiful in appearance and had just a huge set of positive qualities. The novel, Beloved Trapped in Magic, told about the forbidden love of the main characters. Meldik, on the other hand, was the half-sister of the protagonist, Sharia. She was also the fiancée of the main character, Duke Hesman. Meldik was a villain who in the future, burning with jealousy, will try to kill Sharia, for which she will be beheaded. At one time, the girl tried all possible methods to return back to her world, but nothing helped. The girl had to adapt to new circumstances. Coming to terms with her fate, the girl decided that she would not stick to the original plot. She would do whatever she felt like doing. Pondering her future, Meldik found her dream. "Rosalind, please don't worry about me. I will fulfill my dream. I will open my own stationery store," whispered the girl in her maid's ear. "Mistress, I don't know exactly what a stationery store is, but I will not allow you to leave this room." The maid blocked Meldik's path. "Strange. She doesn't know what a stationery store is? There's a haberdashery store here, but no stationery? Why, that's just great news. I have absolutely no competition." The girl rejoiced to herself. "You know that you are absolutely not disposed to sales. If you fail again, you will have to sell even your favorite satin dress. You'll be so poor you won't be able to eat luxurious food," exclaimed Rosalind. "That doesn't embarrass me at all. I like oatmeal and rye bread. I'm sure I'll do just fine. As soon as I open my store, I'll have you come and visit me right away. Please don't worry about me," Meldik replied. Meldik guessed that Rosalind only wanted the best for her. The maid thought her mistress would be much better off around her family. However, Meldik knew that if she stayed here, she would surely die. There is no way I can stay in this house. I must leave this place, and as soon as possible. I don't want to interfere with the main character's love and then also die. The girl knew that the Duke's house was called the Cursed House. Meldick's own mother was the last blood relative of the Marquis of Kenoa, who was said to have been cursed by a dragon. Because of this, most of the Marquis's descendants died at an early age. But that's a legend, isn't it? I have little faith that this curse exists. The girl calmed herself. Meldik asked the cabman to take her to the slums. Now that I'm finally out, my stepmother is even more excited about preparing for the wedding of Duke Hesman and Sharia. Perhaps she'll try to get rid of me once and for all, Meldik thought. So, before I open the stationery store, I need to secure myself and find knights to accompany me. Fortunately, I know the most powerful swordsman in the Empire. Meldik asked the coachman to stop the carriage. Here, a cemetery was located nearby. The girl's request surprised the coachman greatly. He warned her that this place was haunted. I know it very well. You can go. I'll go on my own. The girl held out a few coins to the cabbie. If I understand the situation correctly, I died in the real world. Therefore, I can also be called a ghost. So why should I be afraid of them? The girl thought to herself. The cemetery in the slums was practically abandoned because of the rumor of ghosts. Meldik knew that this was where the Empire's most powerful knight rested. About 1,000 years ago, demons cast out from the heavens attempted to enslave the human race, and in that instant, the Empire fell into chaos. Then a young knight appeared on the battlefield. He found a way to seal the demons. The young knight imprisoned the demons along with himself and his sword, tempered with magic. Thanks to his sacrifice, peace came back to the Empire, and the story of his feat traveled across the continent. However, the knight was now doomed to live forever in the sword in which he had imprisoned himself. The only hope left for the knight was that one day a man would appear who would break the seal and free him from his imprisonment. All this time he's been here, never to be found by anyone, Meldik muttered as she approached the ball. The girl remembered that in the original story a little later, this knight was to be freed by Duke Hesman, which would later lead to a split in the Empire. This knight is a very weighty person in the Empire. I remember that when the Duke released him from the sword, there were even people who wanted to make the knight the next emperor. Now, this man will belong to me. When the girl pulled the sword out of the ground, a knight immediately appeared in front of her. He had dark hair and sapphire eyes. His name was Dominic. Meldik handed Dominic his sword. Dominic took the sword in his hands, and black smoke immediately billowed out of it. "Who are you?" asked Dominic. "My name is Meldik Vavalois, but you can just call me Mel. I know you, Dominic, are the great warrior who sealed the demons. I have summoned you to make a contract with you." "Make a contract? How boring it all sounds. It makes sense to me now. You want to use me to satisfy your greed," said Dominic and flopped down on the ground. "You're right." Meldik decided not to hide her true motives from the knight. "You admitted it so easily," surprised Dominic. He'd expected the girl to be yuppish and twisted, but he was wrong. "And what is it you want? Tell me the truth. Depending on your answer, I'll decide whether or not I should make a contract with you. I don't want much from you. I just want you to be by my side and protect my life. I want to fulfill my dream, but I'm afraid I might be prevented from doing so," narrated Meldik. "Is that really all it is? Maybe you want to take over the Empire, but you're not telling me about it?" asked Dominic. The girl hastened to assure him that the Empire is of absolutely no interest to her. She wants to lead a quiet, ordinary life. "I'm going to open a stationery store opposite the Imperial Academy. I will sell stationery to children. I ask you to be my protector." "I understand you now. You want to create a new empire called Stationery Store? To be blunt, you're not good at coming up with names at all. You wouldn't happen to have any other option, would you?" Dominic inquired. "Why are you all so distant here? Why don't you realize what a stationery store is? This store is very similar to a grocery store. The only difference is that it doesn't sell groceries, but stationary. With a heavy sigh, Meldik said, "Your job will be pretty easy. On top of that, I know you've been wanting to free yourself from the ball for a long time. I know that if you fulfill the wish of the one who summoned you, you will be able to live as a human again." "And how do you know this information?" asked Dominic. The girl realized that she had said too much. Those who had not read the novel could not know it. This information was kept in the strictest secrecy. "Does it really matter? The main thing is that if you do well, you can gain your long-awaited freedom," said Meldik. She noted to herself that the guy was far more perceptive than she had thought. He's one to be on guard with. "And that's right. The job really isn't dusty," Dominic muttered. "Well, I'll be glad to work with you, Mel." Dominic rose to the ground and extended his hand to the girl for a handshake. Meldik immediately shook the knight's hand. She was glad that the first step to her dream had already been taken. Using teleportation, Dominic transported the girl towards the Imperial Academy. "Wow, just look at that gilding! This is what the best academy in the Empire is all about!" Meldik marveled. "Well, this place is worthy of my being in it, though the splendor is a bit lacking. So, shall we go to the academy?" said Dominic. "But we don't need to go to the academy. I will use this building as my store. We will live here from now on." Meldik pointed with her hand to the abandoned building behind her. Dominic stared in surprise at the gray, abandoned building. When Meldik's mother died, her title had passed to the imperial family and her property to the Duke of Babelois. However, there was also something that the woman had left to her daughter. It was a small, 2-story building. "I didn't even expect this building to be so old, but I'm sure after cleaning and renovating it, it'll be perfect for a stationery store," thought Meldik, looking at the building in front of her. "I intend to use the first floor of the building for a store and the second floor as living quarters," explained Meldik to the surprised knight. "You mean I'll be sleeping in this shack for the near future?" clarified Dominic. "Don't worry, I'll have this building renovated. In just a few weeks, it will look completely different. I have a plan. I'm going to be the owner of a stationery store that will become famous all over the continent," Meldik promised. "That's what all crooks say. You have deceived me. Your contract is a forgery," mumbled Dominic in a frustrated voice. "You're getting upset for nothing. Everything's going to be fine. I'm sure I'll do fine. When my business gets back on its feet, I promise I'll treat you better. If things go well, I'll even pay you money." The girl nudged the knight toward an abandoned building. "I once owned mountains of gold, so my salary should be accordingly, understand?" Dominic muttered. Stepping inside the building, Meldik saw that all the rooms were in a terrible state. Everything was old and abandoned, in need of repair. However, the girl was glad that she was the full owner of the building. "Look at how wonderful it is in here. We'll put vending machines on the left and racks of brushes, papyrus, and other supplies on the right. On the counter outside, we'll be selling homemade food," narrated Meldik. "Lord, why did you leave me? That girl sure is crazy," muttered Dominic. "Okay, I'm going to have to help you anyway." Dominic created a small, glowing orb in his hand. He invited the girl to discuss how she wanted to set up store from scratch. "For starters, I'd like to put up a big sign to attract the attention of children. The door of our store would always be open," Meldik began to narrate. While telling her plans, Meldik remembered her past life. The girl was an orphan, so she couldn't even attend a good school. She grew up to be a strong person only because she was constantly supported by adults during her childhood. Around the girl, there were always people ready to help her. Her mother was replaced by her math teacher. The director of the orphanage guided her to the right path. Meldik always remembered with kindness the owner of the neighboring store. She was always treating the girl to candy and other sweets. The owner of the stationery store helped the girl feel like an ordinary child. Meldik dreamed that when she grew up, she would also open a stationery store, which would be aimed at children. She really wanted to give them joy. The next day, Meldik went to the Imperial Palace. Since Dominic didn't have an official status yet, He accompanied her in the form of a sword. Long time no see. Meldik heard a pleasant male voice beside her. Turning at the voice, the girl saw Duke Lennox Hasman. Greetings, Your Excellency. Meldik bowed low before the Duke. The girl noticed that he was indeed handsome, as befitting a protagonist. Lady Meldik, I hear that you have left the family. Yes, Your Excellency. Since I am no longer part of the family, now just call me by my first name, the girl asked. What are you talking about? It's not like I gave you my permission. Resolve this matter within a month. It is unacceptable for my future wife to lead a dissolute life. We're getting married soon. I hope you haven't forgotten that, said Lennox. In the beginning, Lennox was quite nice to Meldik. He even called her a most desirable creature. Lennox, to the universally despised Meldik, became the only outlet. He easily won her heart. However, once the girl succumbed to his charms, the Duke immediately changed his attitude towards her. He began to control what Meldik wore and how she painted. He completely ignored her desires and feelings. After a while, Meldik began to notice that the Duke was spending more time with her half-sister Shariah than with her. Lennox attributed this to the fact that Shariah is more capable than Meldik. Even knowing that Meldik had feelings of inferiority towards her half-sister, Lennox continued to compare the two. It got to the point where he began cheating on Meldik with Shariah. As Lennox often crossed paths with Shariah, he began to feel an interest in her. Over time, the girl reciprocated him. Lennox openly expressed his interest in Shariah in the presence of his fiancée. Of course, everyone guessed about their relationship, but the lovers still pretended as if they were not related because they did not want to be judged for their immorality. Lennox skillfully manipulated Meldik. As a result, she lost her self-esteem and fell to rock bottom. Despised and hated by everyone, she eventually came to believe her own stupidity and gave Lennox the right to control her life. I've read the novel. I know for a fact that Lennox was dating Shariah behind Meldik's back. He openly ignored the girl, drove her literally insane. That crazy bastard pisses me off. Annoyed, the girl thought. He's taunting me, enjoying his secret affair. He's adamant that I know absolutely nothing about his affair. Meldik gripped the hilt of her sword tightly. Dominic asked the girl in a quiet whisper not to do anything foolish. The girl knew that according to the original story, Shariah was now on vacation in the southern Holy Lands. Lennox is pining for her, thus atomizing his feelings more and more. And he still dares to talk about the upcoming wedding? Your Excellency, I know everything, Meldik said with a cheerful smile. The girl absolutely didn't understand why the real Meldik didn't do the same. Why did she agree to marry this man? Why didn't she reveal to everyone that he was a traitor? What do you mean? Lennox clarified. I'm talking about your relationship with Shariah right now, replied the girl. Ah, that's what you're talking about now. I've told you several times that there is no affair. You have to take my word for it, said Lennox. The girl was firmly convinced that the real Meldik could never break the engagement. She was very fond of Duke Hesman. I do not wish to hear any excuses. I am going to break the engagement. In a calm voice, the girl said, She is not the Meldik from the original story. She is completely different. Lennox looked at the girl standing in front of him in surprise. Her gaze was full of determination. Well, don't get so upset. I can offer you a favorable alternative. You can marry my younger sister, Shariah. Then both of us will come to an understanding, and an alliance between the two Herculean houses will be made. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I have already told you that I have no intention of marrying your sister, even though she is many times more elegant, sweet, and beautiful than you. Yes, even though she's the complete opposite of you, it's you I'm still going to marry, Lennox replied. Well, if you are not satisfied with Shariah in some way, then I suggest you try marrying Madame Hildegarth. I say firmly, I'm not going to be a part of it, exclaimed the girl. Lady Meldik Vavlois. Is this some kind of a joke? Asked the Duke. First of all, Madame Hildegard was married, and secondly, she was 30 years older than him. "I'm sorry, I owe you one," Meldik whispered and began to slowly draw her sword from its sheath. "Did you just take up the sword in the Imperial Palace?" Lennox clarified. The girl thrust the sword into the ground in one sharp motion. "You seem to have misunderstood me. Your Excellency, I demand the formal dissolution of the engagement." Meldik knew that a sword thrust into the ground meant a challenge to a duel. With her behavior, the girl wanted to show the Duke that she wanted nothing to do with him. "Since you are now aware of my wishes, I hope to receive an official document of our parting in the near future. At this point, I will take my leave." Breaking off the engagement? So this is how she wants to get my attention? This time she has come up with a plan to make me jealous, but I won't be a part of her game. She can't just give up on me, thought the Duke. The one that followed all my words unquestioningly, whether it was places to travel or business-related matters. Such a girl couldn't change so drastically. Besides, I've trained her so that she will always obey only me. By the way, I just remembered something else I wanted to tell you. Meldik turned around and said. "No need to apologize," said Lennox. In his heart, he was rejoicing. He was firmly convinced that the girl had realized her mistake. "What kind of apology are we talking about now?" Meldik asked. The girl was disappointed in the protagonist of the novel. That was why she decided to go her own way. "I thought you already realized what I was implying. Did you really think I was trying to get your attention with this behavior? You probably think I'm just a silent puppet who is completely at your disposal. Am I right?" "What?" The Duke looked at the girl in surprise again. For a second, it seemed to Lennox that the girl had learned to read minds. Looking at the Duke, Meldik realized that her hunch was correct. "What a misconception," said the girl. In her previous life, Meldik liked to read love novels. She knew that sometimes the rejected hero would suddenly burst out with feelings. The girl didn't want something similar to happen to her. "You found someone else? You cheated on me with him? Do you think anyone but me can love you?" asked the Duke, suddenly grabbing the girl's arm. "To put it bluntly, I'd rather marry that man over there than you." Meldik pulled her arm out and pointed a finger at the passing man. "And since you've made your point, would you deign to disappear from my life? Just so you know, I consider you a filthy scumbag." "Mel, will you be all right? He is a duke, after all," whispered Dominic. "If I were a petty person, I would certainly want to get back at him, but I still shouldn't do it. Luckily, our families are of the same status, so he won't touch me. But if I didn't go overboard, then he might never have understood my words." Meldik muttered thoughtfully. "I hope he doesn't mess up your life, and know that if he should happen to want to harm you physically, I'll be sure to protect you." Dominic promised. Meldik approached the Imperial Chancery. She needed a business license. Since the girl had come here more than once, the clerical staff knew her well. In the Imperial Chancery, Meldik was known for her incompetence. Confident of yet another failure, the clerical staff simply gave her an authorization. "You dropped a document," said the man and held out a written piece of paper to Meldik. "Were you serious when you said you'd rather marry me than Duke Hesman? I am honored," said the man and vanished into thin air. What just happened? Who was that? Did he really hear our conversation with Lennox? Wondered the girl. Oh well, I won't clutter my head with all sorts of trivia. Now that I have my license, I have no need to come to the palace anymore. I'm never going out with that guy again. How nice it is after all that Dominic cleaned up my future store with a cleanliness spell. Now I don't have to worry about dust. Meldik muttered and entered the store. We'll start the renovations tomorrow, so we'll sit the shopping street first. I have some money, so I'll try to decorate it properly, said Meldik to Dominic. The girl spent some of the money on remodeling the building. For that, she hired one rather skillful mage. With the rest of the money, Meldik bought stationery and sweets for the children. Mel, that guy, was he your fiancé? Dominic asked the girl. Yes, he and I were supposed to have a wedding soon, replied Meldik. The girl guessed what Dominic was thinking. He was perplexed as to why she wasn't upset after the breakup of the relationship. Well, he would have been a waste of time for you. But by making a fraudulent contract with me, you are using me, your great sword, too lightly. Dominic exclaimed. Come on, don't feel bad about it. It was only a joke. I just wanted to scare him. And since I've already talked to Lennox, I'll now write a formal petition to dissolve our union. Meldik picked up a pen and began to write the petition. I'll also have to request to be removed from the church registry. I thought this would happen right after I left the family. Why has the procession been delayed? You're an aristocrat. But you want to give up your status? Dominic asked. The girl's actions were completely incomprehensible to him. Everyone knew that bearing the surname of a duke was extremely honorable. I understand his bewilderment. Giving up status is really stupid, but I am hated by my father, the Duke of Babelois. My stepmother longs for my death, and even my younger sister feels superiority over me. I must free myself from them by renouncing the family name. Besides, if I become a commoner, my marriage to the Hazeman family will lose all meaning, Meldik thought to herself. Don't worry, I'm confident in myself. I can finally follow the call of my heart. On top of that, I have the world's strongest swordsman by my side right now, said the girl. Meldik knew that there was a way that allowed one to obtain the status of an aristocrat again. That's it, it's ready. After sending this letter, the link to the past will be broken, Meldik exclaimed joyfully. Meldik felt an emptiness on her soul. In this world, her heroine was despised by everyone. After the girl had taken possession of Meldik Wabalua's body, the character's memories, which were not present in the original novel, began to flash in her mind one after another. Meldik had been disliked since she was a child. Even the children claimed she had cursed blood. Because of this, no one wanted to socialize with her. When the girl's stepmother, Duchess Hildegard, became pregnant, she called Meldik to herself. The woman did not hide anything, told the girl that she dreamed of killing her, but she would not do it yet. She asked Meldik to live as if she had died long ago. One day, Meldik told her father that no one loved her, and the children did not want to go out with her, but he only yelled at her again. He accused the girl of being her own fault that no one wanted to play with her. When Meldik grew up, she was no longer openly bullied, but her heart was already broken. To protect herself in any way, she was forced to harden herself. In a world where no one ever took her side, Meldik had to become arrogant and indifferent to the feelings of those around her. How I wish I could destroy that rotten family. The original Meldik deserves vengeance, but... The girl involuntarily squeezed the petition she had written earlier. Right now, I don't have the power or influence to fight the protagonist or the Duchy of Babelois. Therefore, the only thing I can do at this moment is to sever relations with this wretched family. Squaring her shoulders and raising her head high, Meldik walked out of her store. Today, Dominic had decided to accompany her in the guise of a human. That Duke from yesterday is a nasty type. There are 3 people following us. I think he's the one who sent them, said Dominic. It doesn't have to be the Duke. Come to think of it, my father and stepmother also used to spy on me often. They always feared that I would harm Sharia. The girl thought, I want to warn you in advance that if they want to harm us in any way, I will definitely kill them, said Dominic. The girl patted his shoulder, urging him to calm down. Walking through the city, Dominic noticed a small boy hiding in an alleyway. Looking at his clothes, one could assume that the boy was from a noble family. But what would he do here? Could he have been attacked, beaten up, and run away? Dominic, stay here. If this child was really attacked, he might be scared of a grown man, said Meldik and rushed to the child's aid. Can you get up? Meldik held out her hand to the boy. The boy wanted to get up, but cried out in pain and sank to his knees again. Meldik suggested calling a doctor. You don't need to call any doctors. I don't like them. I just tripped and fell. It hardly hurts anymore, said the boy. Come with us, little one. I'll fix you up better than any doctor, said Dominic, hefting the child on his back. Entering the stationery store, the boy froze in place in surprise. Meldik told him that for the moment the building still looked shabby, but in time things would change. She would make this place the best store in the empire. Almost finished. Hang in there a little longer, little one, Dominic said in a soft voice. He decided to heal the boy with his magic. I am not a child at all. I am an adult. I am a knight who will soon grow up and go out into the battlefield. It doesn't hurt me at all, said the boy. What a nice boy, after all. Speaking of which, what is that he is holding in his hands? That box looks like an antique music box. You don't see much of that these days. Meldik thought to herself. I noticed that you are holding a rather unique item in your hands. Do you like something like this? Asked the girl. Yes, I like objects like that. Why, are you going to laugh at me? Exclaimed the boy. No, come on, I wouldn't think of laughing at you. I like something like that too, really. Antiques are beautiful, and most likely this box has a very beautiful sound, said Meldik, disarmingly raising her hands. This is the first time I've met someone who also loves antiques. I bought this box for my older brother's birthday, but I don't know if he'll like it. Lowering his head low, the boy muttered, Definitely, I would be very happy to receive such a gift. And if your brother loves you, he'll love whatever you give him, Meldik assured the boy. Kid, don't you want to go upstairs and take a little nap? You must be tired, right? There aren't any ghosts up there, are there? Asked the boy, much to Meldik's extreme surprise. Although he constantly claimed to be an adult, he was actually a child at heart. When the boy fell asleep, Meldik decided to start cleaning the garden. She really wanted to advertise her store as soon as possible, but she was afraid that people would be scared off by the shabby appearance of the building. By the way, Mel, do you remember me telling you that there are 3 guys watching us? When I carried the baby in here, I managed to brainwash them a little. I'm just reporting to my mistress. It's not something that would have anything to do with protecting you, said Dominic. Think of it as my spontaneous gift to you. And I'm getting a little tired, as I haven't used my power in a while. All that kind of suggestion magic takes a lot of my energy. Dominic, the sword! Meldik exclaimed. She noticed black smoke rising around Dominic's sword. Suddenly there was a loud explosion. Damn, the seal is broken, said Dominic. Large chunks of ice flew at Dominic and Meldik. Dominic hurriedly created a protective dome. The girl took a small piece of ice in her hands. Surprisingly, it didn't melt from her warmth. A moment later, dark smoke escaped from the ice and began to choke the girl. Meldik screamed loudly. An agitated Dominic leaned over the girl. Meldik realized she was losing consciousness. A quiet, evil voice began to whisper that he would kill her, that he hated all contractors. When Meldik opened her eyes, no black fog was there, only ice remained. The girl coughed loudly. Her throat was sore. Show yourself, shouted Dominic loudly. A blonde-haired boy with black horns appeared out of nowhere. Mal. This is the same demon I sealed years ago. He and I were imprisoned together for a long time, Dominic explained. He sat the demon on a chair and bound him tightly with ropes. I, the demon of the winter moon, have finally descended into this world. The demon introduced himself. You said you sealed it, didn't you? So the seal must be sealed with magic. Then how did he get out of there? Meldik asked Dominic. For several hundred years I was able to contain him. I have absolutely no idea why control was lost. It seems he managed to unleash himself on his own after all, but he will return to his confinement again. My magic is still strong, replied Dominic. Listen, that ice outside, did you create that? Asked the girl to the demon. Indeed, I did. As you already know, only a few people on Earth can create ice that doesn't melt. And only a demon like me, born under the winter moon, has the power to create countless amounts of eternal ice, replied the demon. Meldik was extremely interested in the non-melting ice. In the Empire, ice was very popular and difficult to obtain. Non-melting ice would simply bring in a huge amount of money. Well, Winter Moon Demon, there's a job for you. Would you be willing to create some pounded ice for me? Meldik asked. Do you really wish to use ice magic to break my mortal body into small pieces? What on earth are you already up to? No, I will not do that. That would be akin to a terrible curse. In an angry tone, the demon shouted. Yes, demon of the winter moon, bad luck for you. Now you could be torn apart by your own ice magic at any moment. Didn't you know? Mel is a very scary person. Even I was forced by her into a fraudulent contract with her, said Dominic. A contract? Yes, she is truly a scary person, screamed the demon again. And how long is this screaming demon going to be here? Taken aback, Meldik asked. The longest the demon will be here is at least another half hour. And if you do plan to use the demon, you'll have to perform an additional summoning ceremony. It will require a large amount of mana, Dominic explained. But know that in addition to that demon, the demons of Autumn Ridge, Summer Star, and Spring Flower are also sealed in that sword. Yes, I am the weakest of them all, but don't think, wretched human, that you can make me use ice magic. The other demons are much stronger than me. They will definitely avenge me on you, screamed the demon. Meldik already persuaded the demon to create a small amount of ice for her. With this ice, she filled large glass jars. You are not human! You are the truest heartless demon! The winter moon demon hissed angrily. Look, I still don't get it. Was that an insult or a compliment after all? The girl asked thoughtfully. A moment later, the winter moon demon turned into a dark blue mist and disappeared into the sword. We'll have to find a way to summon this demon from time to time. Its ice will be of great use to me, Meldik thought. Meldik decided to walk the boy to the carriage. He took her hand and confessed that he liked her very much. The girl asked the boy to tell all her acquaintances that she had recently opened a stationery store. I'll be sure to dress nicely and come on the opening day of your store, and I'll be sure to tell my brother about you, promised the boy, getting into the carriage. Meldik was very curious how her relatives would react to the letters she received. Would they give her time to think things over, or would they go on the offensive right away? The girl would have given much to see their faces as she read the letters. Your Excellency, a letter has arrived requesting the termination of your engagement. The butler held out a small envelope to Duke Hazeman. You are to marry Meldik Vavalois, said Lennox to his father. But, father, that woman's blood is cursed. I don't want to spend the rest of my life with her, exclaimed Lennox. The Kinoa are not cursed at all. That is all a lie. They have the power of the dragon flowing in their blood. Unfortunately, none of them previously possessed a suitable body in which that power could blossom, said the Duke to his son. Meldik is a direct descendant of Kinoa. She, too, carries the power of a dragon. If she bears you an heir, this power will be passed down from generation to generation already in our family. Such a child will become the most powerful being on the continent. With a strong person as an ally, you can make the whole world fall at your feet. So look her over and then marry her. Suppress her and make sure she doesn't realize her own potential. Bro, are you here? Shouted Melissa. Melissa was Lennox's younger sister. There was a 15-year difference between them. She was a weak and shy child whose existence was kept a closely guarded secret. She was born as a result of an affair between a former duke and a young girl from a poor family. Brother, I was told that you had an affair on the side, said the girl. She piously believed that cheaters should burn in hell. No, Melissa, it's a misunderstanding. Sharia and I are just good friends, Lennox replied. If you are just friends, then why are our maids calling your relationship an affair? That is disgusting. I am very, very disappointed in you, and I feel sorry for Lady Meldik, Melissa exclaimed. Have you seen that wretch's letter? Why on earth is she trying to make a scandal again? I believe she will still come crawling back to us on her knees begging for forgiveness, grumbled the irritated Duke of Babalois. I think we should go along with her. If she wants to be excommunicated from her family, that's her right. We just need to scare her properly. However, it will take at least a month to settle this," said Duchess Hildegarth to her husband. "And you yourself know very well that after that, there will be a trial involving His Majesty. Remember that there has never been a single case where such a statement has reached the court and been approved by the Emperor. If it does happen, she will be the first high-ranking aristocrat to be excommunicated from her family. The Emperor won't miss the opportunity to strike at the duchy." The Duchess thought, "Once Meldik disowns the Valois surname, it will be easy to get rid of her. My efforts will finally pay off. My beloved daughter Sharia will finally have everything that used to belong to Meldik. Honey, I will personally send a request to His Majesty's palace. I will also inform Meldik of our agreement to remove her from the family tree. I'll do it all in secret so no one will know. We don't want any unnecessary rumors," said the Duchess, and gently stroked her husband. "It's finally here!" shouted Meldik, twirling a white envelope with a red seal in her hands. "Mel, your parents answered this, didn't they? So why hasn't the Duke answered yet?" Dominic asked, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. "Most likely he just doesn't want to part with me. For some reason he needs this marriage, so he insists on it. But his consent is no longer needed. When I'm officially removed from the family, I'll be a commoner. He won't be allowed to marry me. Once I am struck off the family register, the engagement is automatically cancelled. The laws of the Empire forbid aristocrats and commoners from marrying. But I have absolutely no concern for those problems right now. I'll be opening my store any day now. If we succeed, we'll hire a cook and a chocolatier, and a mage, an elementalist, and an alchemist. I know it's hard to find a good mage, but I still managed to get a 1,000-year sword. Can't I find some kind of alchemist or elementalist? And it would be nice to subdue the demon in your sword, too." "I'm terribly ashamed. I will take full responsibility for securing the tower." "I'm sorry, Magister," exclaimed the priest. "Several artifacts have been stolen, including mana vessels. Make inquiries, punish those responsible, Rasmus, and don't report each item to me individually," said the Magister. "Still, I would like to report the suspects to you. I promise you, I will catch the guilty party," exclaimed Rasmus. "Well, if that's the case, then continue," replied Isaac to him. "We have narrowed the suspects down to 3 people. The first suspect is Countess Ellie, whose mana flow has become quite strange. The second is Duke Hasman, who has been conducting magical experiments." Rasmus began to narrate. "And the last, the most suspicious of all, Lady Meldik Valois. She is rumored to have a dragon's birth curse on her. I've been doing a little investigating, and it looks highly dubious. She recently decided to get away from her family and opened an obscure trading shop. She decided to peddle stationery. She may be practicing some unusual magic there. I'm thinking of organizing a surveillance on her. By the way, the sword she carries with her at all times is quite remarkable, and surprisingly, her mana flow is unusual. Perhaps it's because she is a descendant of Quinoa. You don't have to bother. I'll personally handle the third suspect myself. I've long wanted to find out who this girl really is." Isaac threw his cloak over his shoulders and left the office. "Brother, I need to talk to you," shouted Cassian, swinging open the door of his brother's study. "And what are you doing here?" the prince asked, surprised. "I came to tell you that I found the woman I want to marry. I met her while walking outside and fell in love at first sight. She is very clever and beautiful. I should definitely make her my princess," exclaimed Cassian. "She's about 20 years older than me, but I don't consider that a great hindrance to our relationship. Her name is Mel, and she is a commoner. She said to be sure to bring you to the stationery store later. She also promised to sell me a bunch of stuff." "What a strange girl. She is a commoner and also deals with children. Could she be a common rogue?" the prince thought to himself. Cassian held out a music box to his brother. "Brother, you like this music box, don't you?" asked Cassian. Prince Cassian replied that he likes everything his favorite brother gives him. "There, that's what Mel said too. She is the truest genius. Not knowing you, she assumed you might answer me. Here, Take this grape juice she passed on especially for you. It contains non-melting ice. Cassian held out a bottle of purple liquid to his brother. This is all very strange. An ordinary commoner gave my brother fruit juice with non-melting ice. Where did she even get such a rare thing like ice from? Thought Prince Cassian. Look, I think I should meet your friend after all, said the prince. Mel says she wants to make all children happy, so she opened her store across from the academy. Narrated Cassian. Is she really going to open a business involving children? According to Cassian, she's a pretty nice person, but you have to check things out for yourself. She could be a con artist who tricked a naive child, thought the prince while gently patting his brother on the head. The butler entered the study and loudly announced that Duke Hasmon had arrived to see the prince. Has that loathsome man come again? Grumbled Cassian, and hurried out of his brother's study. He really didn't want to run into Duke Hasmon. I have familiarized myself with the business plan you kindly provided to the imperial court. Is it geared towards people of a certain age? Cassian asked Duke Hasmon. That's right, it's a prototype. It is a fountain pen with automatic ink. It is a work of art. Unlike the others, its body is set with diamonds. The Duke placed the pen and an empty ink jar on the table. But will the children be comfortable using this pen? Don't you think you're going overboard with the design? Will this pen be useful for children? Asked the prince. Useful? Why does it matter? Invest without a second thought. Success is guaranteed. Everyone knows that children tend to imitate adults. They will purchase pens similar to those used by their parents, exclaimed the Duke. Parents are very fond of pampering their children, so they will definitely buy a pen decorated with precious stones. Families with children will be our most loyal customers. Moreover, I'm going to collaborate with the Wavelois family again, namely with Madame Hildegarth and Lady Sharia. Cassian knew his buddy Lennox very well. He spent a lot of money to promote the business and then sold goods at extremely low prices. It was a sort of competition with other businesses until one side finally collapsed. I want to clarify something from you. Is Lady Sharia just a business partner, or are you thinking of marrying her after all? Asked the prince to his mate. Lennox answered him that for now, his official bride is Meldik Vavalois. In that case, it's best to stay away from Lady Sharia. There are already rumors in the social circles about your engagement breaking off soon because of your actions. Isn't this situation disrespectful to both ladies? Cassian clarified. That's how. The reason must be her recklessness, mumbled Lennox. And if you do plan to marry Lady Meldik, would it not be better to protect her reputation? By marrying you, she will become a duchess, said Prince Cassian. These are family matters, so don't waste your time on them. Given Lady Meldik's past behavior, I am incredibly reverent towards her, replied the Duke. I'm sorry, but I don't think the palace will invest in your goods, mouthed the prince. Well, after all, the imperial family has never yet had a stake in a major business. However, it's extremely unwise to ignore such a good chance to replenish the treasury, exclaimed the Duke, jumping up from his seat irritably. Since you dominate most of the capital's shopping streets, the number of businesses closing down is skyrocketing. The palace can't maintain a monopoly. Cassian explained his answer. If that's the case, then I'll provide the jobs. After all, it's far better than being the owner of a business that will soon go bankrupt. And you should be well aware that the strong always devours the weak, said Lennox. Although the store had already been open for over an hour, it was completely empty. Maybe we don't have any customers because the kids are still in class, suggested Dominic. Meldik decided to make beer-based sweets. The girl went to a neighboring tavern to buy the hoppy beverage. The tavern owner, Lessa, was very upset. She told the girl that she would have to close her establishment soon. But why? Meldik wondered. It's because the payout is too high, replied the waitress Lily. The girl told her that the Scarlet Cross brigands ruled the neighborhood. They are constantly demanding money. If they aren't paid, they can beat them up and wreak havoc. The city guards don't care, after all. We are simple commoners. Besides, there was a rumor recently that they are sponsored by someone very powerful. The bandits have physical power and even magic on their side. Lily complained. Suddenly there was a very insistent knock on the door. Loud male voices were heard. "Hide," said the tavern owner and led Meldik into a secret room. She asked the girl to not leave the room under any circumstances, or else there would be trouble. Meldik looked at Dominic. She wanted his support. Dominic nodded silently. Meldik looked out of the secret room and saw one of the bandits attacking the tavern owner. The girl jumped out of the secret room and pounded the brigand on the head with her fist. With a loud yelp, he fell to his knees. "Turn around. At least I'll get a look at your face," Meldik ordered. Well, how cocky of you. How could you raise your hand on me?" Laughing evilly, the brigand asked. "Mel, calm down and take a deep breath. I will lend you some of my power. After that, you will be able to anticipate the actions of your opponents. Your skin will become like metal armor, and you will feel no pain," whispered Dominic. Rising to his feet, the brigand ran up to Meldik and grasped her throat tightly. "If I want to, I'll wring your neck," said the brigand. The girl noted to herself that she really didn't feel any pain. "Try me!" shouted the girl, and with a sharp movement she kicked the brigand to the floor. "So you're the brigands of the Scarlet Cross, am I correct? Now you will have to deal with me." "Don't you think you have guts? Although thanks to shallow wenches like you, we can live happily ever after," said the dark-haired brigand. "So you guys have money too? That's even better. Follow me, I'll deal with you now." Meldik waved a finger at the brigands. The girl led the brigands outside and had the brigands massacred in a matter of seconds. "So that's it, is that it? And for some reason, I thought there were a lot more brigands. They're a lot weaker than I thought," exclaimed the girl, looking around. Meldik took all their money from the bandits. This amount should have been enough to pay for 3 months of the mage's work. "That was a good job." Dominic threw his cloak over the girl's shoulders. "You found out that these brigands were bothering the local merchants, so you decided to restore justice?" asked the girl as a journalist approached. Meldik answered him that it was just an accident. "And by the way, I just recently opened a small stationery store. Would you recommend it to your acquaintances? It's located right across from the Imperial Academy. It will sell school supplies, iced drinks, and sweets." "Ice drinks? The prices there must be prohibitive?" asked the reporter. "No. This store is open to children, so the prices are quite reasonable. I really hope that you will not only tell your friends about my store, but also write a good article about it. I will be glad to see you in my store," the girl exclaimed. In the original novel, Meldik Vavalois was unable to attend the Imperial Academy because she had been expelled due to her lack of magical powers. To get there again, she required a much larger mana supply than the others. That was why Meldik felt a sense of inferiority towards her half-sister Sharia, who had bombarded her with enormous magical potential. "You really didn't go to the academy? There's no such thing," surprised Dominic. "You see, if you had no mana game at all, you wouldn't be able to adopt my power," explained Dominic. "Now I will personally test you, and will find out exactly what your mana reserve is." Dominic created a small, glowing orb in his hand. "Can you see the light that is in my hand right now? The yellow color means that one has mana availability." "Wait, isn't that a white color?" clarified the girl. "I want to assure you that you have pure mana. As you already know, magic has distinctive properties: water, earth, light, wood, and metal. Each mage chooses only one of these 5 properties." Dominic began to explain. Despite the different verses, the way mana is used is the same. Mages channel the power emanating from nature into the heart area and then use it. But in your case, that doesn't work. Your mana is drawn from the life force of people. People with pure mana don't have the proper abilities to become mages, but they can be alchemists. They can create unlimited amounts of both platinum and gold. They can, literally they say, create things out of nothing. But to create the various precious metals, you need tremendous strength and skill. At the moment, you have mana like a mouse. It's still continuing to accumulate. And since I have mana, does that mean I can summon the Winter Moon Demon? The girl asked. She hadn't given up hope of making money selling the ice that wasn't melting. It will take a lot of strength to summon it, and the amount of your innate mana is negligible. You'll be able to hold it here for about 3 seconds, but don't despair. In time, you'll be able to generate pure mana, replied Dominic. From the original story, the girl knew that alchemists who possessed pure mana were extremely rare. The only one who skillfully possessed this sacrament was Isaac, the master of the magic tower. In the novel, the master of the magic tower and Meldik never crossed paths. Isaac was like a ghost. Some people even doubted his existence. He suddenly disappeared after the attack on Lennox. "I can finally go on my first mission outside the tower!" exclaimed Henry joyfully. In the beginning, Isaac wanted to go alone, but then he still decided to take the child as a disguise. "I'll do everything. I'll complete the mission perfectly, so you can rely on me. I remember what Mr. Rasmus is telling me about. He has asked me to conduct a thorough investigation." "Okay, just don't overdo it," Isaac asked. He really wanted to know why Lady Meldik's mana had changed drastically. What was the limit of her power? And why among all the places she had chosen this one? And most importantly, what had happened between her and Duke Haseman? "Sis, hello!" shouted Henry, catching sight of Meldik. "Look at you, what a sweet child," exclaimed the girl. "Huh, she's so naive after all. She bought it right away." Henry smirked to himself. "Sis, play with me," said Henry, and pulled his hands toward the girl. By touching her body, he could immediately tell the extent of her magic. "Okay, we're going to play with you now. Answer me, what is your name?" asked the girl. The boy said his name. "Pretty Henry, wearing glasses. I firmly believe that you like to learn. It's your calluses on your hands that give you away." Meldik reached into her bag to find some sort of gift for the boy. "Here, take this. This pencil case is yours now." The girl held out a red pencil case to Henry. On it was written, "Truth gives you freedom." It was the favorite expression of the sorcerers in the magic tower. Henry immediately decided that Meldik was a good man. Isaac called the boy by name. Henry immediately ran to him. "Hello?" greeted the girl Isaac. He explained that he was Henry's guardian. "Here, this is the pencil case I wanted to give Henry." The girl handed Isaac the pencil case. While taking the pencil case, he accidentally touched her hand. Isaac immediately felt a flow of unusual mana. However, it was very weak. It could fade away at any moment. "I wonder if this is related to the Kinoa bloodline," Isaac thought. "If you like it and want something else, please feel free to come to my stationery store. You'll find lots of interesting things there. Well, I'll see you around, Father Henry. Bye, Henry." Meldik waved her hand and went about her business. "Master, did you hear that girl call you my father?" said Henry. "Well, in a way, I am indeed your father, for I raised you. And if you want, you can call me Dad," suggested Isaac. "But if you're going to be my daddy, then who's going to be my mommy?" asked Henry. Isaac had to admit to the boy that he hadn't thought about that question yet. "I have some good news. A reporter came by the other day and brought me a fresh newspaper. He said the paper published an article about how you managed to save the local merchants." Dominic held out a fresh newspaper to the girl. The paper had an article about how an ordinary commoner had beaten the brigands near the academy. It mentioned that she owned a stationery store. The reporter encouraged people to go to the store as it sold school supplies and food. "It's really a very good article. That man turned out to be a real journalist. He didn't deceive us," Meldik exclaimed. The article from the newspaper got the academy students very interested. They began to go to the store in droves to see the commoner who had beaten the brigands. The rumor that the stationery store owner had beaten the bandits reached Prince Cassian. He began to think of her as a knight in shining armor. Previously, the Scarlet Cross brigands had often bullied Cassian. He was grateful to the girl for avenging them on him. "Your Highness, are you going to the stationery store?" his classmate asked Cassian. He had just recently come to this class. His name was Carrot. Let's go with you together, Carrot suggested. He was a wizard secretly sent from the tower by order of the aristocracy. Carrot had but one errand, to stop a string of kidnappings of noble mages from the academy. The Scarlet Cross Bandits are not as simple as it may seem at first glance. Although they are a small organization of followers of a pseudo-religion, many of them are trained in magic. Carrot thought to himself, I'm really curious how a fragile girl who owns a stationery store was able to defeat a whole mob of brigands. Maybe she has some kind of hidden power, or maybe she's the one kidnapping children. It all seems extremely suspicious. If I remember correctly, Mel asked me to bring my friends. I don't think she'll be offended if I come with my classmate. Cassian thought to himself and agreed to Carrot's suggestion. Cassian sent his brother a note. He asked him to come to the stationery store. Cassian wanted to introduce his brother to Mel. Cassian, in turn, wanted to learn as much as he could about the commoner that opened the stationery store across the street from the academy. Cassian was sure that this was no ordinary commoner. This girl was clearly hiding something. The prince decided to observe her. He should have gotten to know her first. The emperor had 8 children, but almost all of them died from an unknown disease. Only 2 survived, Cassian and Cassian. The latter loved his younger brother very much, so he tried with all his might to keep him out of trouble. Meldik was glad to see the blonde-haired boy, whom she had found a few days ago in an alley with broken knees. Unfortunately, the girl still didn't know his name. Do you remember me? My name is Scion. Thank you for your help. My body is perfectly fine now, exclaimed Cassian. I brought a friend with me. His name is Carrot. Welcome to my stationery store. Smiling happily, Meldik said. She really wanted to treat the children to something tasty and entertain them. And this fragile girl took out the Scarlet Cross Brigands? Could this be just a joke or some unfortunate mistake? Thought Carrot, watching the fragile girl. The guy next to her even then seems more capable than she is. What is he to her? Is he her slave? She often refers to him as a servant. Could she be so strong that she can suppress all his energy? Yes, and the foolish prince has already completely succumbed to her charms. He's acting like a real jerk. Maybe he's under the influence of some kind of love elixir? I never thought Prince Cassian could be like that. Mel, what are those soap bubbles behind you? Cassian asked, pointing a finger behind the girl's back. I was just about to try them out. Why don't we try it with you together? You like experiments, don't you? Asked Meldik. Experiments? I need to save this boy, and as soon as possible. There is clearly something wrong here, beyond a shadow of a doubt. This woman is very dangerous. I must stop her with magic. Carrot thought fearfully. So where do we start? Asked Meldik, stirring the soapy solution. Come on, attack me! Shouted Carrot. Cassian looked at his classmate in surprise. His behavior seemed very strange. Meldik took out a bubble wand from the solution and blew into it. At the same instant, several dozen soap bubbles flew into the sky. Carrot stared at the soap bubbles in surprise. How beautiful it is after all, Cassian exclaimed. Do you want to blow bubbles into the sky? Asked Meldik to Carrot. I'll have to agree to that. That's the only way I'll know if it's dangerous for children or not. Thought to himself Carrot. Judging by the lack of a label on the jar, this stuff isn't sold in the markets. The mana in it is barely noticeable and not powerful at all. Nothing will happen if I try it once. There's no way I'll fall under that woman's spell. Meldik suggested going back to the store and tasting the fruit ice. Carrot was afraid that the fruit ice contained a love potion that would make him as crazy as Prince Cassian. Scion, if you like this fruit ice, I'll make you some more, Meldik promised. You know, Mel, I originally wanted to marry you. But now I realize it would be better if you married my awesome older brother. A blushing Cassian suddenly blurted out. Cassian wanted to go into the stationery store, but upon hearing his younger brother's words, he froze in surprise on the threshold. Who the hell are you? Dominic asked, swinging open the doors of the store. "Dominic, who's there?" asked Meldik. "That's my older brother. He said he'd come a little later, but it looks like he's already here," exclaimed Cassian excitedly. "Well, since it's Sion's brother, we need to entertain him too. We could never use the extra publicity." The girl thought to herself. "Long time no see, Lady Meldik," said Cassian. It slowly began to dawn on the girl that if Prince Cassian is Sion's brother, then accordingly, Sion is Cassian's younger brother, Prince Cassian. "I've been in contact with Prince Cassian all this time. He is rumored to be the old emperor's favorite child. It was said about him that he is the most influential person in the imperial palace." Frightened, the girl thought. "Mel, I'm so glad you know my older brother. It's most likely fate," exclaimed Cassian joyfully. Meldik was very worried that she could now be judged for disrespecting the imperial family. "I didn't know Sion was actually Prince Cassian," mumbled the girl. "And I'm glad Mel turned out to be the Duke's daughter after all. Now my brother will be able to take her as his wife." With a relieved sigh, Prince Cassian said, "Lady Meldik Vavalois, how come you met my younger brother?" Cassian asked the girl. Cassian told him that Meldik had saved him from criminals. "Then I have a few more questions for you. May I ask you why you decided to save my brother? And why did you decide to open a trading store called a stationery store?" Cassian looked carefully into the girl's eyes. Prince Cassian was born at a time when the emperor's authority was severely weakened. In the original story, he had obtained the title of Crown Prince with the help of his childhood friend, Duke Hesman. But although they were friends, the prince never considered Lennox his man. In the novel, it was revealed that Prince Cassian suffered from an unrequited love for Sharia. He graduated from the academy with the highest grade. If he was born as an ordinary aristocrat, he would definitely be appointed as the prime minister. Prince Cassian was a pretty good person, but he was destined to be a minor character. He possessed a perfectly neutral yet cunning personality. He was to become an emperor in the future. Opening a stationery store is a long-time dream of mine. As you know, I spent a great deal of money running my father's failing business. That's when I felt that I should sell some change," Meldik admitted. "I opened my store across the street from the academy because I love kids and wanted to spend as much time with them as possible. I thought it would be nice to have children come to the store and create happy memories." "You too, Your Highness. Come here whenever you wish." Meldik didn't care if Prince Cassian believed her or not. She didn't plan on making him her aide anyway. "Be that as it may, you won't be able to live as an ordinary stationery store owner. There are some people who are wary of you and consider you their enemy," said Prince Cassian. "I know that, but I'm not going to be victimized. What about you? Does His Highness consider me his enemy too?" asked Meldik. "Not yet," with a hum replied the prince. In the original story, Prince Cassian had a strong tendency towards perfectionism and was very attached to his family. As befits a vigilant man, he strove to keep everything and always be in control. After the nanny who had been protecting the little prince died in a completely ridiculous way, and after a mysterious series of deaths of his younger sisters, Prince Cassian began to be plagued by nightmares. The novel did not tell why the emperor's children died at a young age. The only thing the book did tell was that when Cassian had nightmares about his childhood, Sharia would pat him on the back. This was the reason why he fell in love with her. Knowing that Prince Cassian was constantly plagued by nightmares, Meldik decided to give him a dream catcher as a gift. "Your Highness, this thing will help you to have only good dreams," the girl explained. Cassian assured the girl that his brother only had good dreams. "There is a strange aura emanating from this thing. Did you put a spell on it?" Cassian asked the girl. Meldik answered him that she had hired an entry-level mage to make some amazing things for her. "Good. Then I will accept your gift and I will definitely use it," Prince Cassian promised. Cassian rarely interacted with Meldik Vavalois. He knew from local gossip that the girl was a disgrace to the Vavalois family. According to rumors, she was a terribly stupid child. It was rumored that she had interfered with the love of Duke Hesman and Sharia. Cassian noted to himself that the girl standing before him was quite intelligent, sociable, and very smiling. It was hard to believe that she could ruin someone's life. Back in the classroom, Cassian decided to treat his classmates to some candy bought at the stationery store. He told them that the owner of the store was not a commoner, but the daughter of a duke. So the commoner from the stationery store named Mel is Lady Meldik? I should go and find out, though she might hate me for being Duke Hasman's younger sister. Melissa thought to herself. Melissa threw on her black cloak and walked into the stationery store. Melissa held out a large red apple to Dominic. The girl didn't understand what was happening now, or who the silent girl in the black cloak was, but she still took the apple in her hands. "Take it. It will be my gift to you." Dominic held out a candy on a stick to the girl. "And why are you being so nice to me?" mumbled Melissa. Tears came to the girl's eyes. "You shouldn't cry. I believe that absolutely all children should be happy. I gave you this candy from the bottom of my heart." Dominic crouched down next to the girl and took her hand. "I have a confession to make to you. My name is Melissa. I'm Lennox's little sister. I came here to apologize for my brother's atrocities and immorality. I didn't know you were such a good person," said the girl and wept bitterly. "That jerk Lennox, even in front of his little sister, slept with his affair. Since you were going to hide your cheating, do it normally, or announce it finally." Dominic thought irritably. "I'll come again!" shouted Melissa and jumped out of the store. "She's totally different from Lennox. Wow, what a sweet and wonderful child to live in the Duchy of Hesman. We'll have to give her more candy the next time she comes in," Dominic muttered. Lennox decided to have a small tea party. In the backyard of his estate, all the aristocracy of the empire had gathered. Everything was going as smoothly as it could. The only thing that frustrated the Duke was that he still hadn't been able to contact the Mado Kingdom. The Malo Kingdom had enchanted stones and races with outstanding talents. However, since they avoided any contact with outsiders, their blood hadn't mixed with anyone yet. If I start to establish ties with the Mado Kingdom, the family name will become even more respected. But I don't even have a magic sword, let alone this kingdom, Lennox thought to himself. Come to think of it, most of the souls imprisoned in the sword are just minor sleuths. I need a true hero to glorify me and expand my influence. Someone like the legendary hero Dominic. After all my goals are accomplished, I will be the most perfect person in the world. If things are going well, then holding the crown is not such an unattainable dream. An imperial crown is something I'm comfortable with. Just as I thought, the name of the ducal Haseman family is slowly but surely spreading throughout the empire. The financial power of the family is truly admirable. The cooperation with the Waveloa family is unprecedented. Duke Hasman, I have something to say about Meldik. Duke Babelwa whispered and suggested that Lennox find a more private place to talk. You have excommunicated my fiancée from her family without consulting me? If the imperial palace approves of her excommunication, it will be impossible to undo it without bilateral consultation, Duke Haseman exclaimed. I was angry with my daughter. That's why I made such an impulsive decision. In fact, I don't intend to kick her out of the house. I only want to scare her. You know my daughter loves her family. I'm sure she will come to her senses soon, said the Duke of Babelwa. I cannot do otherwise. She is too stubborn. Ordinary entreaties will not help here. You yourself remember that when her business failed, she was on her knees and starved for 3 days. But I'm sure she can't disown her family. I think it won't be long before she comes crawling back to apologize with tears in her eyes, saying she made a mistake. In any case, if one is an aristocrat, His Majesty's opinion is also important. And if it comes to a trial, we'll have to manipulate Emperor Hosuadi somehow, said Lennox. I have to find out what this babe is up to. Not only did the brigands I hired fail in their task, but Meldick's handling of them has made her a household name around here, thought Duchess Hildegarth strolling through the garden. It's not worth worrying about yet, of course, but it's best to keep things under control. I wonder if she has access to artifacts. I'm told her mage abilities are modest, and they live rather precariously. I owe it to her to deal with her before Sharia arrives. "Mistress, everyone is already assembled, only waiting for you," said a maid who approached. "As you may have heard, we are now working closely with Duke Hesman and plan to sell products for children." Duchess Hildegarth sipped some tea and placed the cup on the table. "Wow, this is extremely amazing!" the ladies present at the tea party exclaimed. "As it turns out, my daughter, Meldik, has also decided to set up store across the street from the academy. I hope this child overcomes her endless string of failures. She seems to be extremely proud since she won't give up her business. When Sharia returns, she will work with her." Narrated the Duchess. "Dominic, have you noticed there are unusually few visitors today?" said Meldik. "Do aristocrats not want to come to a place run by commoners? Yes, we have children coming in, but they are fewer and fewer. It's like our stationery store has an invisible barrier at the entrance." "Lady Meldik, I think you should find out about this," said Cassian, entering the store. "Here comes one that pisses me off wildly," grumbled Dominic. Cassian held out a flyer to the girl. "Your Highness, thank you," shouted Meldik and ran out of the store. The leaflet said that a large department store designed by Duchess Hildegarth would be located opposite the Imperial Academy. The specialty of this store was that it was aimed at the children of aristocrats. It was the first collaboration between the two ducal houses. Duchess Hildegarth herself would run the store until the return of her daughter, Lady Sharia. A 10-minute walk from her store, Meldik saw a construction site. It was a nice shopping area. The girl guessed that once this store was built, she would lose all of her few visitors. A construction worker approached and asked Meldik to leave the construction site. "What am I supposed to do now? How do I get rid of my competitors in the form of the Duchess Hildegarth and Duke Hesman, who hates me?" the girl thought. Duke Hesman walked up to Meldik and grabbed her arm roughly. "I don't know if you're aware of this, but the Duchy of Babalua and the Duchy of Hesman have decided to cooperate together. I opened a business for children earlier this year and plan to target the academy. You can finish with your small business," said Lennox. "The academy and the kids until they graduate will still be ours. Tear down your small store before your business collapses. By the way, your excommunication from your family has been canceled, which means the breaking of your engagement has been canceled as well." "Lady Meldik, you have always failed, haven't you? As your fiancé, I think you should think about that." "Enough of this nonsense. If you don't break the engagement, I'll announce to everyone that you're cheating on me with my half-sister. You can't say with all certainty that you don't have feelings for her, can you?" Meldik exclaimed. "Take it. It is the gift you once begged for." The Duke took the girl's hand and placed a necklace of red stones in it. "Is this a handout?" the girl shouted angrily. She threw the necklace on the ground. "Yes, you got it right. It was my handout to you. And you can feel free to tell whatever you want, because no one will believe someone like you," said the Duke. "You bloody bastard!" shouted Melissa, jumping on top of her brother. Meldik looked at the girl sadly. She felt sorry that Melissa had overheard their conversation. It wasn't the girl's fault that she had such a scummy brother. Meldik promised herself that all the children, including Melissa, would be happy. She would get her store recognized.